You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure as always to be your host. We've really nothing to talk about this week, and as you see, we've got a panel here. We're going to be talking about very little. No, you know Scottish football, that's not the way it works. We did have this panel set up before Saturday, so let's just say this wasn't a quick organisation. This has been planned in a few days in advance for a potential catastrophic weekend. Welcome back to the show, Marc Wilson. Marc, how are we doing this weekend?
Hi Scott, fine, thank you. I'm wearing the colour of the weekend, red, and respect to John Lundstrom and Alfredo Morelos and their thuggery at the weekend. So I thought I'd come out in support of our officials this weekend.
And the hardest working official in the country this weekend, Charlie Richmond. Charlie, we've got a lot to go through. How are we? Thanks for coming on.
No problem, Scott. Delighted to be here. I'll try and get across as many decision explanations as I can, but sometimes I cannot defend the indefensible.
Right, let's just get into it. We've got a lot to get through. Let's just get started. We'll start at Easter Road on Saturday. Hibs 2, Rangers 2. Rangers were 2-1 up, obviously down to 9 men. Josh Campbell with a last-minute goal, securing a point for Hibs. Charlie, we're as well starting with the obviously talking points of the weekend. 6 referee decisions, I would say, here from Willie Collum. I'm going to just ask you one at a time what you think. We'll go to Wilson, ask for his thoughts, and then we'll obviously get a chat about the game. The first one, the penalty, Hibs penalty, Rocky Bushiri. Is it a penalty?
For me personally, no. There is a pull, a contact, but there's no enough. This is what we've, and it's going to be a common trend tonight. As much as referees have made bad decisions, players need to start taking a bit more responsibility on what's actually happening to them. Now, Bushiri does make a bit of contact, but the boy goes down like a sack of tatties. And I don't think there's enough there to generate that going down. So for me, in that particular incident, I'm not awarding a penalty kick.
What about the one up the park with Hibs, the one Bushiri gets filled with Tavernier? Is that a penalty?
Again, that's not a penalty kick for me, because can Tavernier really pull him down? He should be standing tall and going to win that ball. There's a different kettle of fish if he's grappling right round it and takes him out the game. But when it's just a small tug or when it's just a small bit of contact, players need to take responsibility and say, am I really getting pulled here, or am I just throwing myself in the ground to try and make the referee make a decision? And what I will say is the two incidents are exactly the same. So the award of a penalty or the non-award of a penalty should be for both of them. There should not be one as one and the other as not.
Well, this is the one thing I want to kind of get your thoughts on, that the word consistency. The John Lundstrom gets sent off for the tackle on Martin Boyle. There's one before that where Jake Doyle-Hayes gets booked for a tackle on John Lundstrom. They're very similar, I would say. I think it's that thing, if you're sending one off, you need to send the other off and vice versa. What do you think of them? Were they yellows or reds?
For me, they're both yellow card tackles. The Doyle-Hayes one is probably more into the category of a yellow card because of the taking down scissor action for there. But they're both to stop promising attacks. Now, football is about playing football. And you've got to watch again is that, it's a professional foul. It's a taking out the game. but it's how he takes him out the game with regards to that side of things. So Doyle Hayes has come in and then caught, and for me, yellow card.
Morelos
incident. Morelos incident again is a red card every day of the week, because he's had one shot at him and then he's had another shot at him. And that's what I'm talking about, defending the indefensible. That's a red card, and the player needs to take responsibility with regards to that setup. The Lundstrom tackle, and this is where I'm going to put a mitigating circumstances, because Willie Collum is on the other side of the challenge, and all he sees, guys, is a straight high leg, and therefore Martin Boyle goes down. What he doesn't see is the slightest contact to put him down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think Willie thinks it's a red card, because of how high and straight the leg is. But what it actually is just a tap on his knee to bring his legs together to foul him down. And I think that's a yellow card. And I think, obviously, we're aware of that Rangers are going to appeal it, and I think that will be overturned.
See, though, before I bring in Wilson, and as I say, Wilson, it's great to have Charlie on in a show like this to obviously hear like a referee's point of view and things like that, and kind of re-refereeing the game. But would VAR overturn any of them, Charlie, if it was in play? Like that's like we see the day. Obviously, we're recording this on the Sunday with Kieran Trippier getting out his red card overturned on the park. Would VAR overturn any of the decisions that you feel are wrong?
If we're looking at VAR, VAR's going to look at the red card incident, and they're going to look at it and say, is this a clear refereeing error? And with the John Lundstrom, yes, it is. And it's a clear refereeing error from the position of the referee. He's looking at what he can see, because the camera, if you're on the stand side at Easter Road, you've got a completely different view and opinion of that tackle. So therefore, whoever the VAR official was in Scotland would bring Willie across and say, have a look at that. And then he makes his decision from there. Now, if Willie wants to turn around and say, no, I'm happy that's a red card, that's his prerogative.
Yeah.
And every referee has that option. But I think if he looked at it from the other side, he would see that, again, there's not a great lot of contact. All John Lundstrom wants to do is stop that promising attack.
Wilson, we've heard obviously Charlie's input, and again, it's great to hear obviously an ex-referee's input. What was your thoughts?
I mean, I'm very much, if let's just go to the Lundstrom tackle. If the Lundstrom tackle was in a game, Motherwell v Kilmarnock, this would not be getting the media exposure that it's got. Again, I think the John Lundstrom tackle has taken over the tackle yesterday at the Ross County Kelly game. I think just because it's Rangers or Celtic, a whole meal's been made about this. Going back to the refereeing decisions, to be honest, I probably agree with Charlie. I didn't think either were penalties, to be honest. But to go on Charlie's point about players need to take responsibility, that is a no-win situation for a referee, because there's no honest players out there that's not going to do that. Every single player that feels that touch from Bashiri or that wee slight pull from Tavernier is going to go down. So I think you're going up the wrong road with that, to be honest. I agree with you in principle, absolutely. Players need to take responsibility, but that ain't going to happen in Scottish football. There is absolutely no way. Again, I was as shocked as everybody else when the Lundstrom tackle went, and it's take one for the team, that's a booking. And then when he sent him off, I'm thinking, I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. The guys on the panel at Sky were a wee bit the same. And I'm thinking to myself, is it because maybe Martin Bill's that quick, he can run the full length of the pitch, or is it, it was a mistake. But again, and going back, and we'll touch on this later, I still don't get why Willie Collum can't come out and speak to the cameras after the game and say, that's me. Because I think what the conspiracy theories that I know Scott's a big fan of in Scottish football, well, he'll even it up. So the next time Kolach takes a dive in the box at Parkhead, he'll get the penalty. It's a no-win situation for the referees, but I still don't get why they can't just come out and say, I've had a shocker there. And getting it overturned still doesn't help Rangers.
No, but he's not allowed to.
It means Lundstram won't get a suspension, but it doesn't help in terms of what they would possibly perceive as dropping 2 points.
But that's the thing.
But Willie Collum, sorry guys, Willie Collum is not allowed to come out in the media.
That's what I'm saying. They should be allowed to come out and say exactly as you've said. I was on the wrong side there.
Yes.
But from where I was, I thought that was a red card. And I actually think, maybe not at the time, but see when maybe it dies down, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst might look at it again and say from where he is, I'd probably send that guy off. And I think it would kind of, relax all these things. But because we're in the west of Scotland, because of the whole Celtic Rangers things, it gets completely blown out of all proportion.
But I think this is a fantastic weekend. I don't think you could get a better weekend than this weekend for the refereeing department at the SFA to come out and take some time in a media show and explain this is the correct decision, this is the wrong decision, and try and educate and try and get the punter. Don't get me wrong, I can't stand BBC Scotland now, but you're putting on and you're getting punters saying...
Is that because Rory Loy's on it, Charlie?
No, our good old friend Rory. So you're getting pundits saying it's a free kick in the box, but it's not a penalty.
Yeah, no, that was the thing.
How does that? Again, that's totally blinkers.
Surely if it's a foul, surely like that's an interesting point. That was something I kind of wanted to bring up. If it's a foul in the box, as you say, it's a penalty. So if it's a foul,
100%.
So I don't, but there's this thing that I've kind of got, and I think Column's bad for it, and I think you can obviously tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think the problem is that when there's incidents where a referee like Colum, he's so quick to bring cards out, it just turns into. But I saw it today with Clancy when the Celtic Hearts game, which I watched. It's just get a card out straight away. It's not like let the game go, which I just think it's this thing, and it's is it attention? Is it kind of making the game about him? I don't know, but it's just like bringing so many cards out. Card happy, I think is the phrase for it.
But that's the nature of Willie Collum's refereeing for the up 10 years. It's as if you get the card out, you sell the decision.
Mm-hmm. Aye, that's bang. Yeah.
And he's out the top pocket. Whereas sometimes you're saying that's a red card. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take out the card. I'm still. It's a red card. Or, whoa, wait a minute here. That looked a red card. And what do you think, guys? What do you think? And we'll come on to communication on another game.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? No, I don't think it. Right, okay. Well, yellow card. That looked the right decision for that. But that's Willie's nature. Willie's nature is always 100 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Sprint to the incident. Get there. Rather than just get up there at a gentle pace for there.
But again, I'd say, going back to your point on player responsibility, if that's vice versa, Boyle on Lundstram, equally the Rangers players would be surrounding Collum, desperate to get him sent off.
Yeah, and that's what you need to get away from as well. You can let the referee make the decision. For their getting in your face, get away out the road with regards to that setup, and be honest, because if it happens the other way about, if that player gets a bit of contact and goes down and gets a penalty, he's won that decision. If it happens in the other penalty box, you can't then slate the player for doing the same thing. But in my analysis, the two of them should be standing up and playing the game and carrying on with the game. I totally get you, Mark. Players would cheat their granny to get that win bonus, 100%. And I've had it in my face, and I've had it in dressing rooms many, many years. But they really need to start, football players are role models and this, that, and the next thing. They really need to start acting like the role model that they are meant to be. Because, particularly for higher profile games, what happens on the pitch can spill into the terracing and into the streets after a game.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on the game, Wilson, it was one of those games where I don't think either side particularly played great. I thought Rangers were very passive, just again, something with Rangers so far this season. I think they play the football. They just don't have really a kind of killer instinct so far. But what was the kind of overall thoughts of the game? Was it a draw right result?
I think it's still early in the season, and again, Rangers are obviously playing the last couple of weeks: Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, whatever it is. I agree to Celtic. There's a wee bit lack of quality, but it was a kind of good old-fashioned SPL game. You know, as I say, you're obviously expecting Rangers with better players. You know, to go out and win the game. And I thought when Lawrence, was a really good goal he scored, I thought that would be at curtains. And then I sometimes think, you know, again, we keep going back to the referee's decisions. You know, sometimes the players think, and it's a wee bit of panic sets in, you know. And then, I mean, I didn't see the Tavernier interview after the game, but I don't know what Morales is thinking. I genuinely don't. You know, down to 10 minutes back enough. You know, if you're up 2-1, just get men behind the ball, start looking for corners. You know,
do you think it's a bit of frustration though because he's not playing and he's getting back to fitness. He's what he kind of make an impact, and it just has a kind of moment of.
Do you know what I think his frustration is? I think his frustration is not getting a move. I don't think he wants to be there. I think I touched on this the first week I was on in terms of, you know, maybe the likes of Ryan Kent, Glenn Kamara. Now they've done excellent for Rangers, no doubts about that. But they've saw Bassey getting a move, Aribo's getting a move, who looks pretty much Southampton's star player at the start of the season, and they'll be thinking, wait a minute here, how did nobody come in and kind of buy me? And I think Morales thinks that as well. I think he's, well, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Don't think it's got anything to do. I sometimes think he's a crowd pleaser and, you know, tries to play to the gallery too much, bit of a badge kisser, kind of in the mould, kind of Nacho Novo was a wee bit, but. And I say he's been a great player for us and a great goal scorer, but he looks out of shape. He looks unhappy. You know, maybe he wants to be the main man. And Van Bronckhorst was out and signed, you know, 3 or 4 forward players. Is he thinking his days are numbered and nobody's wanting them? You know, he's gonna get left on the shelf because again, you guys will watch a lot more Rangers games than me. Even if everyone in that squad's fit, does Morales start?
I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem. He sees it for there. But I remember a guy saying to me, what's the best thing a centre forward can do to make any sort of statement? Is put the ball in the back of the net. Put the ball in the back of the net and let that do your talking. I agree with you, Mark. I think he's frustrated that he hasn't got that move out to the Premiership or to Europe. And that's what's laying on his mind. But to come in and do that, it is beggars bewilders.
Bonkers, absolutely bonkers, and that's where, you know, again, and I know it happens a lot. It's not just Rangers down to time, man, down to 9 men, and I know it's only 4 games into the season, but it was crazy. And his is 100% red card, as Willie Coleman, Charlie have said. But
I think that's only
again,
100%.
I still didn't think the Hibs equaliser was coming. I still didn't think they created. You know, I think McLaughlin's at the headed save at his near post. And I think he's punched one. Well, it was going straight down his throat, and then the boy Campbell's just hit a world, hasn't he? Probably never shot that in his life. Yeah. But again, and I know you go on social media, and I know we shouldn't really talk about social media, but the Rangers fans seem flat as well in terms of they're a wee bit, you know, worried about the performances. You know, I thought the midweek game against Paint, I thought it was a great game. I really did. It was end to end. It was 2 teams going for it. But again, and going back, and we touched on this after the Rangers Kilmarnock game as well, it is so hard. I don't care how good a team you are. See when 11 men are behind the ball, it's so hard. It's very, very difficult to break down. And as I say, a wee bit, but teams are going to do that against Celtic Rangers. That's just the nature of the game up here.
We'll move on to Dundee United 0, St Mirren 3. Curtis Main with a double and Alex Grieve with a third for St Mirren. Wilson, fair to say a massive win for St Mirren, but big problem so far at Dundee United after that Alkmaar defeat.
They aren't half, I tell you. You would expect possibly, and to be fair, it was a kind of tough game going to Tynecastle after the European thousand. But home to St Mirren, I mean, as I said, I think one of my predictions in the first show of the season was about managers losing their jobs, It's not looking very favourable. I mean, I don't actually know what Dundee United's next game is, but with the greatest respect to St Mirren, I think any team in the SPL gets beat 3-0 at home to St Mirren, then they'd be starting to look at the manager. As I say, Hearts was a tough one, but as I say, it wasn't as if, you know, it was a performance you thought Dundee United were unlucky. You know, they were given a going over by St Mirren.
St Mirren's next, Dundee United's next game is at home to Celtic.
Well, again, that's the Sky game next week. Well, again, you know, form sometimes get out the window with these things, but if Celtic did, for example, what he did to Kilmarnock a couple of weeks ago, then I certainly do fear for Jack Ross's position, because that's just you know what happens. I mean, I've heard wee rumours again, social media falling out with a couple of the players and whatnot, and the way he's set up and all. But on paper, they've got some really good players. You know.
3 weeks ago when they beat Alkmaar, everyone was rosy. When they beat Alkmaar in the first leg, you were thinking that's a top team.
Levitt could play for Man United's first team, and Fletcher could play here, there, and everywhere. And it's really, he's came down, crashed into the ground. I kind of wonder sometimes, it may be just the shock of the Alkmaar result away from home, but I wonder if the players have lost confidence in him after the Alkmaar result. You know, because I mean, sorry.
No, on you go.
As I say, sometimes if that's what's happened in the dressing room, has he privately blamed the players for it? And the players are thinking, wait a minute here. You know, you don't know what goes on, but it's very worrying times. Not necessarily for Dundee United, but for Jack Ross.
Charlie, St Mirren, obviously a massive result for them, but again, like Curtis Main scoring a double, he's going to be a big player, obviously, for a team like St Mirren who need goals. But following up in the Dundee United point, there's massive confidence problems there. If you don't lose 3-0 at home to St Mirren, in my opinion, unless you're really, really out of form. No disrespect to them, but they're not a team that should be taking 3 goals at home off anybody at the moment.
Yeah. Dundee United would probably see that as a good opportunity to bounce back and try and get 3 points on the board, because again, it's the same players that Tam Courts had, and they worked for him. And I got to agree with you, Mark. Sometimes a 7-0 thumping can really last for a good few weeks. And how you gel back and how you see people make mistakes, and the guy beside you, that would show up a lot of errors with regards to there. Curtis Main is a man of many clubs, and he's struggled at a few clubs, and he's off and running. If he can keep that confidence up, score goals, then everything's about confidence with regards to there. And on that incident, when we were talking about referees, I thought St Mirren should have had a penalty earlier in the game with a handball, the ball clearly striking the guy his arm out in an unnatural position, as we say, from that point. But great confidence boost for St Mirren. Again, you've highlighted that Dundee United are at home to Celtic. Now, having been in the middle of the games, they're no easy. Jack Ross, I believe every manager secretly will get points for that. I don't think Jack Ross would think Dundee United will get points next week. But what it does now is potentially put more pressure on him to try and get something. Yeah. But what will stem the flow? Once you get the supporters against you, it becomes very difficult, because chairmen listen to the supporters with regards to there. Yeah. Jack Ross, a nice guy, had many a conversation with him, but sometimes it's not the nice guy that wins all the time.
Yeah, and obviously it's a massive win for St Mirren, and it puts pressure on Dundee United. We'll move on to the next game I want to talk about. Motherwell 1, Livingston 0. Charlie, we'll stay with you, because this to me is the worst decision of the weekend, because Nick Walsh, to me, it's not a penalty because it hits off the boy Montano's chest, but the linesman's impeded by the boy Lammy. So how's he then changing his mind to then give a penalty? Because it looks to me that he just looks at Sean Goss, who's pleading for the penalty, and then gives it. That to me, just how's he changed his mind? Because his linesman can't be giving him a concrete view of a penalty, in my opinion. It's not a penalty either.
It's, television evidence shows it's not a penalty because it hits him high up on his left side rib cage.
Yeah.
The player doesn't help himself, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, by raising his arm to let the ball go out. The player would actually be better keeping his arm by his side and letting the ball hit his get out. So again, a wee mat for players is when the ball comes to your chest, don't raise your arms up, keep your arms down from that point. Now, there's a decision to be made of whether it's a goal kick, corner kick, and Nick Walsh comes round and all of a sudden he's starting listening. And I think Nick has been advised from that assistant referee to give the penalty kick. And he's seen the arm go up and he's seen the ball move off its tangent. And that's why I think they've came collectively at that decision. I don't think Nick has gave the decision 100%. I think he's been instructed by his assistant referee, who could potentially as well take into consideration the reaction of the Motherwell player and seeing the Livingston player's arm up.
But that's
it's a wrong decision. It's collectively a wrong decision. But how would you have got to that decision?
But surely you've got to be 100% confident in your own decisions.
Yeah, 100. I agree with you, and I think the linesman is that. I think the linesman is looking at it, and he's 100% seeing that because of the arm up from the Livingston player, where it hits, where it goes, and the reaction of the Motherwell player, I think that's what he thinks he sees.
It's a weird one because just the video that looks as if
Nick Walsh can't see it.
And
no disrespect to Nick Walsh because it hits the left side of the player and Nick's over his right hand shoulder. So I don't think Nick, he's in the right position for a cross into the box, but I don't think he can see it. So I think the emphasis is on the far side assistant referee, and he's given it because Nick would say something maybe like, "Did that hit his hand?" And he could come back and say, "It's a penalty. It's hit his hand."
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't help Livingston's cause, but I actually think it's good that the linesmen are getting involved in trying to help the referees make decisions, because I think the linesmen they're too busy hiding. You know, you see now quite a lot of times, like there's a foul right in the corner flag, and the referee gives it, and then the linesman starts waving his flag after rather than waving the flag first to signal to the referee. So, as I said, it doesn't help David Martindale when it's the wrong decision. I think we can accept that. But I'm quite glad the linesmen are now getting involved in trying to help the referee out.
But funnily enough, Matt, a linesman can be involved because of communication, and because, and this is what we don't hear these conversations and we don't see any reaction, so we automatically think he's not getting involved. When the linesman turns around and says, "Free kick Nick, free kick Nick, free kick Nick, attacking team," then what's the point of him putting his flag up when Nick Walsh blows the whistle to give the free kick? When you want to communicate it, when you want to mic'd up, the pre-match instructions were, if you see a free kick in front of you, buzz and give it. And that was because you couldn't talk. And that was the take it for there. So then, when the referee gave the free kick, the linesman would come up and back him up. And that's what the assistant is doing. The assistant is backing up the decision so that he doesn't get pelters for the crowd or for the players. I.e., you're only 2 yards for that. Why are you not getting your flag up?
I thought because the referee gave it. Headsets were just listening to the sash that lot. I didn't realise they could talk to each other.
No, we do not condone that in this channel. But Wilson,
going to
the game. Motherwell obviously Van Veen takes advantage of the penalty, continues Stephen Hamill's good start since getting the job. Again, it's been one of those kind of new manager bounces we talk about because Motherwell badly needed that after the start that they'd had, obviously, with Sligo. Hamill, again, young experienced manager, he couldn't have got off to a better start, really.
No, he's done very well. I sometimes think, in terms of Motherwell fans, he's a Motherwell guy. He played lots of games for Motherwell, captained the club, etc., etc. So there is that kind of bounce. Although I did see an interview with Stephen O'Donnell, maybe just after Graham Alexander had left, and it's nothing to do with the manager. We need players. It wasn't he wasn't necessarily slaughtering Alexander. He was saying it was bodies in. We'll do what we need to do. But I'm pleased for Stevie Hamill. As I say, a bit of stalwart at the club, and hope he does well. But as I say, from a Kilmarnock point of view, I'm a bit worried we're 8 points behind them.
That's probably a good point to pass on to Kilmarnock.
He's a nice guy, actually, Stevie Hamill. He's a nice guy. He's got the club at heart, and the supporters have got him at heart because of what he's done.
It's a good mix.
But we're talking about players again and players' reactions and stuff like that. Why does Van Veen come out in a media interview and say it's a stonewall 100% penalty? What I mean? Look at this, pal.
Play in the galleries. Good. Well done. I would do that as well.
Yeah. Where Kilmarnock 1-0 defeat to Ross County. Ross County get their first win in the board of the season after a kind of tough start where they played well but no good results. But Wilson, 10 men Ross County winning against Kilmarnock. It's not been a great start for your beloved Kelly.
No, it hasn't. I did think that would be a very, very tough game going up there. And as I say, again, you can criticise in, I suppose, but a lot of the punters appear not happy with the shape of the team. We're not getting the best use out of players like maybe McEnroy and all that. Should maybe be playing centre midfield and wide left as a wing back. It just seems nervous. I don't think there's much confidence in the goalkeeper either. Not that I think he was to blame for the goal yesterday. But it just seems a bit messy. And as I say, how much I admire and like Derek McInnes. I'm a wee bit concerned, after getting horsed for Celtic, his interview come out and said, well, we've played the team that finished fourth and the two best teams in the country. Our season starts now. And then his interview yesterday after the game was, well, that's us played 4 teams in the top 6, and I'm kind of, you maybe need to start, looking at something else here. Yeah, Ross County are a decent team, but again, and this is where I've said on here before, I have no worries about Derek McInnes. Superb manager, great staff, and Paul Sheeran and Tony Docherty, Fraser Stewart, great staff. My worry is the players. I think we've got a great manager, but I think we've got players that are maybe just not cut out to play in the Premier League. And that's what the worry is. And as I said, with only maybe 10 days or something the transfer window closes, I still think we need some new faces, albeit Hemming's injured, Jones is injured, fella for Arsenal's injured. Been a wee bit unlucky in terms of that, but and for such a big game, and I know it's only 4 games in, but for such a big game, we got up there and lose, not getting from it, and the manner of it, down to 10 men. They probably could have been 9 men too. Absolute shocker challenges in that game as well. It's a wee bit worrying. And then just as you've touched on there, Scott, Motherwell have got a wee bounce, and that's who we play next Saturday at Rugby Park. And you're already thinking, if Motherwell were to come to Rugby Park and win, they're now like 11 points or something in front of us. And that's the teams we kind of need to be putting up against. But I'd imagine we're a big crowd at Rugby Park next Saturday, and that's, again, I don't know how many weeks in a row we can see our season starts here, but it certainly does on Saturday. But as I say, I've got faith in Derek McInnes.
Absolutely does. Charlie, obviously the talking point to this game were the 2 challenges. Obviously Callaghan saw red for a handball later on, but should he have saw red earlier for a challenge and then there was a challenge after that?
100%. 100%. I think both those challenges are red card challenges. But when you look at Davy Monroe, he's consistent. He's punished one exactly the same as the other from that side of things. But for me, Callaghan's challenge, he's got the ball's not even anywhere near it. There's a way of bringing somebody down to stop a promising attack, and there's a way he's serious. His legs are scissored and still wrapped around the Kilmarnock player. And if you ever want to look at a video clip for a red card on serious foul play, that ticks every single box of the criteria. And what makes it angry, or what makes the punters get on, is he actually gets sent off for a handball. And okay, it's a deliberate handball to stop that promising attack, but what he's got away with, and also the second challenge as well, big centre half knocks the ball too far in front and then accelerates into the challenge with excessive force, and catches the boy
McEnroy
high.
It looked really bad at first.
If his leg's in the ground, I think that's broken.
Yeah.
It's lucky enough that the force has actually knocked it up and therefore been able to take some of the impact on it. But there were two red card challenges for me, but the first one is a great example to show a red card serious foul play challenge.
Wilson,
I think McInnes will be disappointed in the nature the goal was lost.
Mm-hmm.
The defending, the ball bouncing about, a couple of opportunities to clear it and then take it for there. And you're right, Mark, the quality of players, but I suppose you need to go out and sign players as well. If you're not happy and your first team goalkeeper's injured, if you're not happy with the second goal, go and sign a better goalkeeper. There's things like that.
Wilson, Ross County they've kind of had a kind of stop start. They played well, but not get the results. But they will be delighted, I would say, to get a win on the board.
Yeah, I think any team to get their first one of the season, that's the momentum. As I say, Malky Mackay, that squad did very well last year, and I think he'd maybe be hoping to kind of continue that on. As I say, I don't think many teams possibly in the lower ends of the league will go up there and win. Just with the journey and all that kind of stuff. And as I say, Ross County, they do try and get the ball down as much as the few rash challenges yesterday. They do try and play, which Malky Mackay's kind of instilled in them. But great for them, great win for them. But not the result I was expecting, to be honest.
The last game on Saturday was St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 1. Aberdeen kind of dominated the game, but Charlie, it took a terrific free kick from Aberdeen's new player Leighton Clarkson to get the 3 points.
The boy's setting the head on fire, isn't he?
Really reminds me a lot of Madison, actually.
Yes, yeah, and I took the words out of my mouth there, Scott. Yeah, very similar type of player, but what a strike! Mm-hmm. What an absolute strike into the postage stamp for that. A goal worthy of winning any game, and again gets Aberdeen the points. St Johnstone, they'll not like me saying, they're probably the kind of whipping boys at the moment. And from there, along with Dundee United, if you want to look at it for there. But on the road, we've got 3 points for Aberdeen. Callum said after the match, they weren't great in the first half, kind of wanted a wee reaction in the second half, got it from them. But again, they'll be looking to try and pick up points as quick as they can, because, again, not a great season last season, and the last thing you want is for pressure to come on to you so early on this season. The best thing that could probably happen, I don't know what St Johnstone's next game is, best possible, could go out and thump somebody 5-0 or something like that.
Wilson, the problem I've got with St Johnstone is that they were obviously their best game of their last season was the game against Inverness, where they had to stay up, but they've not went and really improved, I would say, this season. They're not. It looked very similar to last year, I would say.
Yeah, they'll be down kind of that neck of the woods again, as well. It's a kind of funny one, St Johnstone. I think after obviously winning the trophies, Callum Davison was riding the crest of a wave. I think I would imagine that any other club possibly after the season last year, the manager would probably get the bullet before, but then he dug them out. He got them to stay up. It'd probably be his target every season. But as I say, they will be down the nether reaches of the league, probably with one or two others, and it'll be close. I think it'll be quite close this year. I don't see anyone possibly getting cut adrift. I think maybe between 12th and 9th, there might not be a lot of points, and it will come down possibly to this bottom six split to see who ends up in the playoff and who goes down.
Charlie, the final game of the weekend in the Premiership was today. Celtic 2, Hearts 0. Kyogo Furuhashi with an early goal, and Giakoumakis scoring really late on after Hearts were reduced to 9 men. I watched the game. I thought Celtic were a bit similar to Rangers, a bit passive. Scored an early goal, didn't really do much after that. Hearts kind of tried to kind of stiffen them. The 9 men, losing the 2 men, it meant just Celtic. It was only a matter of time before Celtic scored, and Giakoumakis obviously finished the game off. But again, Celtic 100% record. They've started excellently so far this season.
Yeah, and they have so, and that's all they'll be looking for, just the 3 points to keep winning. I listened to the interview with Joe Hart, and he says, we'll run Marine race 100%, concentrate on yourself, don't care what anybody else is doing. I think Celtic would probably get a week in a surprise from the team line that Hearts put out, bearing in mind their priority is obviously midweek in order to try and get progressing in Europe, and rightly so. You cannot have a go at Robbie Nielsen for that at all. The boys that he brought in done well, stifled them, lost the first goal. Movement of Kyogo was fantastic. He had a battle down the wing and put it across.
It's a great ball in, yeah.
Great ball in. And all he has to do, and that's what they're talking about, he just needs to know. And if the ball's getting fired in at that, it's a case of just opening your foot out and direct it into the empty, past the goalkeeper into the empty net with regards to there. Yeah, Celtic will be pleased. Again, 4 cautions resulting in 2 players off. You could argue the first 2 are clear yellow cards, and then the second 2 were kind of on the soft side of things. But I think the last one, the push with regards to that side of things, Kevin Clancy could have managed that, because there's a Hearts guy about 3 yards coming in to make a challenge from there. Again, you could argue why is the player pushing them from that side of things, but in that type of game, I think Kevin Clancy could have managed that situation rather than just card, letter of the law, card. And that's why sometimes as a referee, that's where you get to the top, because of how you manage games, potential games, seeing them out, and also nothing games just being in the background with regards to there. But to sum it up, yeah, Celtic delighted. It's 3 points. It's against Hearts. Hearts had other priorities.
Well, since Celtic obviously have started with 4 wins, 2 points clear in the league, they'll be delighted with that start to the season. The thing is, as well, we talk about, we've spoken about it before, the squad depth, I think, has just got so much better. You say you bring off Kyogo, who scored the first goal, and Giacomakis scores the second. It's balancing that squad, and I think that's a big thing for Postecoglou, and I think he's getting it spot on so far, because there's a Abada can come on as well. You've just got so much depth in there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the game. I've not obviously watched Sports United because I'm on here. The highlights, I just kind of was getting the Sky Sports updates. Yeah, I agree, and I think the pleasing thing for Celtic is, as you say, Kyogo's scoring goals. Giacomakis come off the bench now 2 weeks in a row and scored. The kind of versatility of the front, 5 or 6 that they've got there. And I think Celtic will be fine in terms of that. But as I said, I know we'll touch on this in later weeks, egging on. I just don't know if that style of play is going to suit away at Liverpool or Real Madrid in the Champions League. I'm quite sure Celtic will be happy just to be in the Champions League. But as I say, I think that's when maybe the form will start to take a hit, because even as good a side as Brendan Rodgers had at Celtic, they still went to the Nou Camp and get zipped. Was it 7-0, 8-0? Yeah. And it affected the league form slightly, and that's where I think Celtic's concern will be. But just now, again, as you say, go through, beat the team in front, you 1-0 or 10-0, get the points on the board, and manage to rotate a few players to give others minutes and things. He might line up completely differently in Europe. I don't know. But in terms of the domestic, I mean, they were on fire against Kilmarnock last week. It was impressive to watch, to be honest. And then obviously beating the team that will probably finish third in the league. You just take the 3 points and go up the road.
Yeah, and as I say, they weren't overly great. I thought they were a bit passive, but as you say, I've said it so many times. Scoring that early goal, it kills the game plan. The 10 men behind the ball, because what do you do after that? And Celtic are obviously, they're very, very kind of keep going.
Movement's swift. Their movement is very, very swift.
Kyogo is so key to the way Celtic play. Yeah. His IQ, I think, is just terrific, and I think as well, we spoke about this as well. They've really got it kind of going, and the Gents has come in. He's obviously scored 2 goals. He's You mean Starfelt's out of the team, gents can come in. If Taylor, obviously, I don't know what's happening with the boy. Is it Bernabe? I think he, like...
Your Majesty's pleasure, I think he is.
I think that's... But Greg, I mean, we spoke of this. Greg Taylor was outstanding last week.
Kept up. Yeah,
he was unplayable last week.
How many times have I told you this?
And I think that's what he's been doing.
He was Kelly's best player under Steve Clark for about 3 seasons.
But I think it's that thing as well. I think Scottish players, particularly at Celtic and Rangers, get so much unnecessary criticism just because they're Scottish. And I think he's beginning. But as I say, Greg Taylor maybe needed that boy to come in and
a bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, and he's certainly fulfilling it, because I wouldn't have him out of the team if it was me. But I think they've kind of got the balance right so far. But yeah, Celtic obviously top of the league with two points clear of Rangers. We'll move into the Championship. We'll go through the results quickly, and we'll just get everybody's kind of result of the weekend. Partick Thistle 4, Inverness 1, Arbroath 1, Queen's Park 2, Cove 1, Ayr 2, Morton 0, Dundee 0, and Hamilton 0, Wraith 2. Charlie, what result caught your eye in the Championship?
Partick Thistle on Friday night was an absolute brilliant game to watch. As much as Inverness were a wee bit kind of off the pace in that side, but I thought Partick Thistle were very, very good. Having tipped them to win the league as well, they really zipped it about in the pitch and kind of took Inverness to the sword. But the manner on that, you wouldn't have thought Partick Thistle would have beat Inverness 4-1. The goal, you could hear Ian McCall's disappointment in his interview for losing that goal. Ken, that's been an absolute spoiler in his weekend with regards to there. So that would be that, followed by Ayr United. That's a great result to go up to Cove. I'm not saying the wheels have come off Cove's wagon. That's terrible. That's not a nice thing to say for that side. But they're really starting to see when Paul Hartley's out and wee Youngie out as well, somebody to come in and McIntyre to come in and steady the ship for them. So Ayr going away up there, getting a good result, going top of the league. But my back to Partick Thistle being the result.
Wilson, what you got for the Championship?
I think Charlie stole both of mine there. I would have picked Partick as well, but as I say, much as it pains me, old pal Graham Maffey, I think Ayr getting up there and winning and going top of the leagues. Great result for them. So as I say, I tipped Partick as well, same as Charlie at the start of the season, and that's who I'll stick with. But I think going away up to Cove and winning is a good result for United as well. And that league will be very tight as well. There's no
I think it's going to be a really tight league as well. You like a Queen's Park beating Arbroath. Arbroath, I think, and I'm not going to say the bubble's burst, but I think the problem is I think a lot of teams have found them out, and I think they know the way to play them. And I think Queen's Park obviously have another team that show. I think Dick Campbell will be desperate to get a run in the show. Great friend of the show. He'll be desperate to get a run going and get kind of back up that table. But League 1, Airdrie 2, Alloa 0, Edinburgh 0, Falkirk 3, Kelty 0, Dunfermline 0, Montrose 2, Clyde 1, and Peterhead 1, Queen of the South 4. Wilson, before we get into the result, did you happen to see the Falkirk fans view at Edinburgh on Saturday?
I did. I saw it on Twitter.
Didn't it?
Aye, it's a wee bit harsh, I remember Falkirk couldn't get into the Premier League years ago because of their stadium. I'm thinking, what if this team go up? But yeah, it's a shocker that, and to be paying £2 for that view, never mind probably £15 to £20 they had to pay. But I would have picked that one as my result, Falkirk.
Yeah, so would I.
I think John McGlynn, good manager. I think I predicted them. I predicted them last year to win the league right enough. But they were my pick this year. But that was a good result for them, despite the view for.
Charlie, what do you think? League 1, what was your result?
I'm going for a long travel as well. I thought Queen of South going away up with Peterhead, and the manner that obviously don't know anything about the game, having not seen any reports, but to go up there and win, and it looks as if it's won comfortably as well. So that'd be a good one to steady and get Willie Gibson's confidence up again.
League 2, Stenhousemuir 1, Dumbarton 3, Elgin 2, Stranraer 2, East Fife 1, Forfar 0, Bonnyrigg 0, Albion 2, Annan 1, Stirling 2. Charlie, I'll start with you. Result of League 2?
Oh, Stirling going away, didn't he, Annan? I don't know who done the opposition analysis in that game.
Do you think, obviously, I'm quite surprised with Annan start so far because they were ripping it up in that Premier Sports Cup, but they've only 3 points with, is it 3 points with 4 games so far?
Annan, yes, second bottom for there. And the funny thing about it was they beat Stenhousemuir, who everybody was kind of thinking they were.
Yeah.
They were going to be there for the league with regards to that side. But again, Dumbarton are playing well. There's a confidence there. Stevie Farrell, I spoke to him in a pre-season match, and again, he's got a few good players in, and it's a great start. And I don't care what any level of football, if you get away to 3, 4, 5 winning games on a trot, it starts to get that wee bit of distance between everybody, and the confidence. Players' confidence is brilliant. And the supporters are happy as well. And that also as well gives you a wee bit of breathing space if you do have a wee dip in form for one game.
Yeah. Wilson, League 2, quickly before we get into your hot take for the afternoon.
Well, I always look out for Stranraer's result because Jamie Hamill's there. So a wee draw away. Is that one of the longest journeys in football? Stranraer against Elgin?
Must be close.
Must be right up there. So the boys are probably still in the bus now.
Campbellton going to Kilsyth, I think in the west, I think must be up there.
Is that, sorry?
Campbellton pupils, I think, go to Kilsyth.
Down to 3 Rovers, didn't they?
Aye, 3 Rovers as well, yeah.
Oh, jings, man.
Well, so the boys on the Stranraer bus still coming back for Elgin. I've picked you as result of the day.
I'm going to go for Albion beating Bonnyrigg. I mean, Bonnyrigg had a good start. That was obviously their first defeat, but Albion really needed a result. They lost their first 3 games. Going to Bonnyrigg and winning 2-0 was a big result. Wilson, the thing I've been looking forward to most in the show, we've gave you a hot take subject to go on. You've got 2 minutes to talk about a subject that's caught your eye in Scottish football and give your overall opinion on it. So I'm going to sit back for 2 minutes and let you go.
Well, it's not going to take 2 minutes because I'll be seeing the smoke coming out Charlie's ears as I go on about it. But I had a wee look in of the refereeing decisions over the weekend, most notably Easter Road and Dingwall. Surely for me now that for Old Firm games especially, they need to be bringing in foreign referees. I think the pressure now on Willie Collum, I'm led to believe, I haven't seen it. Scott might be able to thing me. You know, I saw a stat on Twitter today about Celtic conceding 11 fouls today and no booking. Hearts concede 12 fouls and it's 7 bookings in total, whatever it is. And as I say, I think the undue pressure. Now, as I said, we talked about at the start, if Willie Collum can come out and say, I made a mistake, I'm in the wrong position, I'll try to do better. I'll touch on what that should signify later. But in terms of the pressure now on the referees, surely it's time now. I know that some of our referees are sent to Egypt or Cyprus or Greece to referee, big games out there that maybe the local referees, not saying they can't cope with, and I'm not coming across that the referees can't do Old Firm games for their benefit, not to handle them. Whereas guys, I think previously when the referee strike was on, I think guys from Israel were coming in, referee the game, and away home with absolutely no allegiances, no pressure, nothing like that. And I think that's the way it's got to go, because again, you're going to get the maniacs, and we don't condone this, of course, but after that performance on Saturday morning or Saturday early afternoon, Willie Collins will probably receive death threats of some kind. He'll probably get abused. He'll probably get, he might not get a high-profile game next week. And it is, again, I know we touch on human error. And as I say, I think the intensity, fans are going at now with these referees. I think it's time to bring in foreign referees and start them off at the Old Firm fixtures, just to see if there's it gets any better. I don't think it'll get any better in terms of, if there's still a red card, penalty decision, whatever it is. And I think the worst thing that's going to happen is when VAR is introduced. Can you imagine? And let's just say, we'll just use Willie Collum. We spoke about him all night. Willie Collum is standing in front of the old jungle at Parkhead or the Govan stand waiting to make a penalty decision. You're not telling me that what's going on behind or in front of him isn't going to influence that decision. So for me, Charlie, foreign referees for Old Firm games.
Charlie, do you want a response to that?
I can understand, and it's a repetitive question because every season referees' ability is questioned with regards to the consistency. The consistency is the talking point, as we have saw different decisions resulting from the same incident. But surely you've watched games in and European football, and you've saw European referees make mistakes with the use of VAR, etc., etc. We look at England and we see their mistakes as well. I just think it's the nature of the beast that we will always have the difference of opinion. There is times when that opinion can be corrected, and VAR's coming into that. And I read a worrying statement / comment during the week about Pierluigi Collina being the head of FIFA wants to bring VAR into more incidents where there is concern. And now, are we going down the road that it doesn't matter who's going to be standing in the middle? We could potentially referee it for the side of the pitch, for there. Yeah, Mark, you'll always get that. There was referees when
I appreciate, high level rest, Premiership, Collina, if you want to talk about him, make mistakes. I'm talking about for the welfare of the referees, because Scotland isn't a big place, And as I say, I look at the transfer over of our refs going to Greece, Egypt is under a cloak of darkness. Why can't that be reciprocated back here to take the pressure off our referees? Because what could happen, Willie Collum could go and do, I don't even know, Panathinaikos via Olympiacos and have a 10 out of 10 performance. Every decision he gets correct, right? Now, again, plus still some folk unhappy. He's made a few errors yesterday, and as I say, he'll be absolutely chastised, and as I say, when it comes to if that was, Hibs Rangers is probably as close to an Old Firm game as you maybe get. It's more for the protection of our referees rather than, criticising them as such.
Would it make it better? Would it make it acceptable that after Willie's performance on Saturday, that you saw there was some sort of punishment to Willie? I.e.,
I've said this in this channel for the whole time it's been going on, and I know Scott thought of an agenda against Bobby Madden. But if these decisions, right, and again, so how many decisions did we talk about? 6 decisions in the Hibs game. How many did we think were right and wrong? How many do we think were wrong, Charlie?
In my opinion, there's only one wrong.
And that's the Lundstram one.
Yes.
Right.
The other are down to opinions.
Right. So would getting the Lundstram one wrong be worth the punishment of Willie Collum having the Stuart and New Farm game this week? Is that his punishment? Or do you take him out the limelight? 2 weeks off, Willie. It
happened to him before. It happened to him before. After an Old Firm game, he was took out the limelight.
Was the same with Callum? Was it Callum Murray as well? Did he not get that as well?
Callum get took out the limelight as well.
Yeah.
I get put in the darkness.
Was it Dougie McDonald as well? Was it Dougie McDonald, I think, as well, after the striker?
Dougie McDonald, he caused that. Aye, he went and
he get
wrapped the towel.
But is that no, like, I get Wilson's point, and I think you would eliminate a lot of controversial.
The only thing I would counter to that is a lot of Scottish officials would say, well, if we're not going to get a chance of getting the Old Firm games, we won't be here.
Yeah, that was
I put my hand up. I was one of them. And I put my hand up.
But is there no way we can better? I get Wilson's point about the welfare thing, and I think that I wouldn't like to be at the centre of an Old Firm game. And again, remember John Beaton after the Rangers Celtic game a couple of years ago, where he was getting death threats in his house. Basically, I get the welfare aspect, but Charlie, is there no way we can bring a better level of competence to these referees? Is there no better way we can make these referees better? And I know the money isn't great for a referee, the part-time aspect and all that, but is there no way that we can get a better level of official coming through. We can get players coming through at a good level. There must be a way, if people want to be officials, there must be a better way to do it. There must be a better way they can go down, as opposed to...
Well, you've got to put the fear factor into it, then, for that side of things. And we talk about players. No, every player's going to get to the first team. And from that point of view, that's a fear factor. So you need to work hard. We know every referee is going to get to grade 1. But Willie Collins so long at grade 1 now, any more mistakes, Willie, and we're moving you to the side. There's a fear factor there to go out and try and do your best.
Yeah.
But also to the negative side of things, there's not a lot of referees coming through for that. And that's where you might end up. You're actually seeing in grassroots football matches postponed or matches been put over because they can't get referees. So we're taking it for that.
And this thing as well, what Wilson saying there about the welfare of being just an old firm game. I mean, there's a game, and Wilson will know this better than me. There's a game last week where the referee and the Ayrshire Amateurs got in his car and drove away because he was getting so much abuse. So it does happen at every level.
100%. I get that. I heard the story. But also there was no communication. I'm hearing from a second phase that the referee just had enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's protocol, there's procedures where you go to the secretary and say, look, see if you don't get those home supporters or away supporters under control, I will no longer be here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm giving you the opportunity to deal. You can't just get in your car and drive away.
And I get you need to be thick-skinned to be a referee. I get that, but
you also need to help yourself.
Yeah,
as a referee, you need to go out and help yourself and try and get into the right. You'll see amateur referees turning up today games of football, and can I put it polite? Their body shape doesn't look that these guys are going to be all over the park. These guys are just going to sit there, and therefore they're making decisions from 20, 30 yards away. On the top level, on the top level, every referee looks exactly similar, okay, for that side. So what is the mistakes they're making? It's the decision making, and it's in the right position, and it's the right time with regards to that. Unfortunately, the mentality, the well-being comes with the job. What do you do to relax? You lock yourself in that. But you shouldn't, my opinion as well, you shouldn't be at the top level of refereeing games of football for 10 and 12 years. You should get there when you're about 36, 37, and maybe have about 5 or 6 in the top. But that would be great if you had the conveyor belt coming through. But maybe that is, as you think, well, he must be grade 1 now for about up teen. He must be
at least. It's at least 10 years. It's at least 10 years.
So it's more than that.
Yeah.
And I was grade 1 for 10 years, and to me that was too long. So you should only be at the top.
Your players, it was too long.
For everybody, it was too long, exactly. But you should only be at the top for so long, not going on and on and on. And often a wee tangent, you shouldn't be doing 3 and 4 cup finals. You should maybe do one maximum. You should do one maximum of 2 and then move on and give everybody else a chance. But there's no, at the present moment in time, there's no fear factor in Scottish refereeing. As in, you make a mistake, you're off. You make a mistake, you're away. And I think bring that back in and make it see visible, then that's that. Because I don't think Crawford Allen is strong enough to implement that at the moment because of who's at the top. Whereas if you do come in and you implement it, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to be moved to the side. I'm going to tell everybody you're moved to the side for that because of this, this and this. And if you come out and educate, no every decision is a poor decision on the aspects of the referee. He might be in the wrong position and stuff like that. So if you take David Monroe up at Ross County, right, he must have a clear view of that tackle. Why does he not think that's a red card when everybody else thinks it's a red card? If that's your mentality and decision making, you have to change that. You have to go against it and say that's a red card. And every time that happens, it's a red card. And that needs to be forcefully put across. But you don't want to go down the avenue that you punt everybody out and you've got nobody coming through.
Yeah, I think that's
So you need to.
yeah.
It's a fine balance. And bringing the foreign guys in, I wholeheartedly agree. But what type of what level are you going to bring in? Because you're not going to get Lojas from Spain coming in to do an Old Firm game when he could be doing a Barcelona Real Madrid game.
Surely, Michael Oliver would love to do an Old Firm game.
I'm sure he would love to do it, but he's not going to give up a Manchester City.
He can do it. The Old Firm's a one-off. So if he's scheduled that week, we need a referee or a competent referee for the Old Firm game. So instead of because he could look at the other way, he might get Southampton via Leicester and think, I don't know, they Celtic Rangers.
You could trial it as one. You could trial it as one Old Firm game, but you would probably still get met with a wee bit unrest. But no today the full four.
No matter what though, you're gonna get some people who are never going to change their mind.
That's why I brought it up as a discussion point. That's why I brought it up while Charlie's on, because my biggest point with it is what Charlie said. Like, if I was a 15, 16-year-old trainee referee and I'm thinking, I would love to be one day in the middle of Hampden Celtic Rangers Cup final. It's the same as a 16, 17-year-old player probably thinks that I'd love to play in that. The referee will think, I'd love to referee that. So you're kind of taking away the end game for them.
Here's a thing that's probably common to both players and referees. How do you get to the top? How do you get into the first team? Is the player got the natural ability? Is the player got a mediocre ability and he's well coached? Or is the player no well coached? Has the referee played football at a certain level? Has the referee never played football? Is the referee well coached? Or is the referee not well coached? So there's probably a weakening similarity of how a player gets to the first team and how a referee gets to the top level.
Wilson, quickly, you watching Rangers the best of luck away in Holland on Thursday?
Absolutely not. Always been a big fan of PSV Eindhoven, one of my favourite Dutch teams. I'd love Van Nistelrooy as a player. Like, it looks as if he could still play, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I honestly really enjoyed that game through the week. I thought it was excellent. Toe-to-toe stuff. I think a lot of folk have written Rangers off because they didn't win at Ibrox, which is usually a European fortress. But I don't know. I think this could maybe go all the way, this one. And again, Scott, you'll certainly know better than me. If they, for example, if they get another kind of run like they did last year in the Europa League, is it similar money for the Champions League group stages?
I don't think it's far off. Like, I was kind of reading a bit of that as well. I think there's about 7 million of a difference. I think guaranteed. But again, but the Champions League, like, there's Rangers.
Of course it is.
And I think it's a big thing for players as well. Like, you're talking about Morelos wanting to stay and things like that. Like, I think there's talk today that Kamara's in his way out. If Rangers get that Champions League, that's that next level of progression.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's the big thing. But I think
Scott, here's a question for both of you then. So, would you rather Rangers got the 6 Champions League group games and out, or out and then a run to the Europa League Cup final?
The 6 Champions League games boost the coefficient.
We're not interested in the coefficient, Charlie. You
need to
check my Twitter page for that. Carry on.
You want 2 teams into the Champions League every season, whether it be straight into the group stage or the qualifying with regards to that setup.
Even if they lose all 6 games.
Yeah.
Rather than maybe getting to a final of the Europa League.
The final of the Europa League will benefit the club more money because once you hit the knockout stages, you then dramatically jump for that.
I think It's hard. That's a hard one actually, because
See, walking out to the Champions League music doesn't have put hairs in the back of your neck up.
Oh, God,
no, I know. I definitely. And you'll know that. And I was telling.
I think it comes down to your group. So for example, if Celtic or Rangers pull out a Real Madrid, I know it's not good, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City, unbelievable Champions League every day of the week. But if you pull out Salzburg, Leipzig, and Sturton, you're going, wait a minute, what's happening here? Away at Kello Rovers and
And a lot of focus pulled out Sturton.
That's what it comes down to be honest. I think you obviously want to play against the best, but as I've said, I do worry regardless of the group for the Scottish teams. But
right, quick predictions, Charlie. Give us a score prediction for PSV, Rangers, and Hearts and Zurich.
Right, PSV Rangers, I think it'll finish all square after the 90 minutes. And then I think Rangers will sneak it through in extra time for there. Hearts, Zurich, I think again, Hearts will bring it back to level and they'll go through in the tie. Whether it be in extra time or whether it be right to penalty kicks. But I think the two Scottish clubs will have a hard game, but they will progress.
Big call for Charlie. Wilson, give us a quick score predictions. PSV, Rangers, Hearts, Zurich.
I'll go PSV on penalties, and I'll go Hearts, Zurich, 1 each. So I think both Scottish teams will not progress.
I think...
and that's just because Charlie said they would.
I kind of think I was impressed with PSV. I really was, and I think
they're good.
I think the boy Gakpo as well. He's a talent. He's going to go and play.
But in Europe, you've been impressed with Rangers as well.
I know, but have they away from home? I think at home they're a different animal. I think away from home, I just don't know. I just don't have the confidence that they're the same team away from home.
Borussia Dortmund.
I know, but
who was the one Kemar Roof scored for the halfway line?
Standardly Edge. Yeah, no, they can do that away from home, but I just don't know about PSV. I think PSV could be a top team. I think PSV 2-1, and I think Rangers will be playing Europa League football. I think Hearts will be playing Europa League football with them. I'm going 2-0 Hearts. So I think Rangers and Hearts will be playing Europa League football. Again, it's interesting to see it. If you've got opinions, please leave them in the comments below. Wilson, pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks very much. Always a pleasure to be on with you two knowledgeable people.
Charlie, pleasure as always. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and wait till I get a wee bit more reading of the laws of the game.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Everyone who's tuned in. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you all soon. Cheers.